Hey, this is the BJJ Forward Life podcast. So today we're talking about why yoga is overrated. So when it comes to the issues that I think a lot of grapplers have, and I'm on a lot of groups, snooping around, seeing what guys are struggling with, and the things that come up over again is injuries and cardio, which is why I talk about those two things. Those are the two biggest pain points. And my goal with my content, my goal with my coaching program is that if I can resolve some of your biggest pain points, your experience with jujitsu is going to be greater, and you can have that experience for a long period of time. So a lot of times yoga is talked about as like if you're gonna do something for like an injury or what you should do to supplement um strength train like supplement your jiu-jitsu, a lot of people would just talk about yoga. And I don't think there's not necessarily nothing wrong with it, but I think it's a little short-sighted because there are plenty of guys, and I'm sure you know some who aren't very aren't aren't very flexible, but they can find a certain jiu-jitsu game that works well for them. And that's a great thing about jiu-jitsu is like all these different body types, all these different people can do jiu-jitsu. You can find a game that works for you, which is the beauty of jiu-jitsu. So I don't think yoga is necessarily important. Now, should these people probably work on their mobility? Yeah. But in my eyes, if you're going to supplement extra workouts, and let's be honest here, people who do jujitsu, they love jujitsu. They don't like working out. And they're only going to supplement so much. So in my eyes, if you're going to supplement something, you should supplement strength training because from an injury prevention standpoint, it is better to strength train than it is to do yoga. From a cardiovascular standpoint, to have better condition on the mat, strength training is better. And from an overall learning techniques, having better movement so you can progress faster, strength training is a better way to supplement. Now, if you have a lot of time, so say you have 4 hours a week, then you could do like 2 hours of jiu-jitsu and you can do like an hour of cardio and you can do like a mobility um mobility workout. That's fine. But a lot of people, that's not what they're looking at. So let's talk about why yoga is probably not as good for handling injuries as people think. Because the problem with yoga is that we are taken we're taken through these large ranges of motion, which is good, right? We can increase mobility. But one thing people don't understand is we usually get hurt in these in ranges of motions or in positions where we can't handle forces and stress. If a body can't handle that stress, the forces that are applied in that position, we get hurt. So a quick example, I have this training partner. Every time I armbar him, he's like, "Oh, I felt that in my shoulder." He's like, "Your arm bars are so tight," because he doesn't have good shoulder mobility. So every time I drop the arm bar, and sometimes if you know arm bars dropping outside over the head is a little better sometimes, you'll feel that in the shoulder. So my point with that is that that's how people get hurt because your train partners are going to take you to positions where you're not strong, or you're going to apply force in a certain position where you're not strong. So that's like someone like coming down to your ribs really hard. You cannot handle the force, and then you injure your rib. Now when you think about strength and conditioning, doing things like, and I'm a big advocate of this, is doing plyometrics and doing strength training is going to allow you to put yourself in positions where you can you can basically get used to stress. You can get used to those forces. So if you're doing plyometrics and you're doing different variations, so say you're doing like skater jumps, you're doing hops, your knees are going to be better at handling force. I'm not saying you can't hurt your knee with jiu-jitsu if you do plyos, but your knees are going to be more durable to handle the forces that your knees are placed on the mat. And same thing with strength training. It's great to be able to go overhead, but if you don't have strength over your head, it's not really that useful. Same thing with hip mobility. If you can have really flexible hips and hamstrings, but you're not strong in those ranges of motion, the injury prevention that yoga is always touted out, I don't think is as effective as it's marketed. So I think you're better off doing strength training. And the thing with mobility for strength training is you can build some mobility by just training through a large range of motion under control, doing full range of squats, doing RDLs, doing elevated split squats, doing Cossack squats. All these things that require full range of motion is going to help you build that mobility. And then because we're building strength in these largest range of motion, a body can handle these stresses. All right. A body can handle the forces that are applied in these positions. So hands down, strength if you're going to supplement something and you don't have much time, say you only have 2 hours a week, you should be strength training, not doing yoga. Obviously, in my opinion. Um, so handle stress. The next thing I want to talk about is cardiovascular training. And people don't think about this. I made this like quick video on Instagram And I really believe this. Like, if you just do these two things, you're probably going to have pretty good condition. If you just got yourself really strong and you focus on your jiu-jitsu economy or your grappling economy. So what is that? That's basically learning when to place your strength at the right times. And this is really evident if you watch like a black belt versus the blue belt. They'll go really hard. The blue belt's going really hard, and the black belt's just kicking their ass. And he doesn't even look like he's doing a sweat. And I always think of my coach because I remember, especially when like I probably don't roll like this with him that much, but I remember trying to pass his guard. His guard was like I don't think I've ever passed his guard, but I would do all these passes or try to pass his guard so hard, and I would just and then eventually he would sweat me, and I spent like 30 seconds. I felt like I was like sprinting for 30 seconds, and I was exhausted. And it's because of the jiu-jitsu economy, and obviously this takes skill, this takes time, but if you have the goal of, hey, I want to be more efficient, okay, I want to use strength when I need to, and that's the thing. Sometimes people say strength is bad, strength is good. Strength is just strength, and what people don't realize, any movement we do requires a certain level of strength. So if I move my arm like this, that requires a certain amount of strength. So the reason why strength training helps with your cardio is because like stronger guys, if they know about jiu-jitsu economy and they only use the amount of strength they need versus being tight and rigid like a white belt, like you're not going to get gassed out. So if I arm drag someone, it takes some strength. If I'm weak, that might take like say 80% of my strength to do an arm drag. And say like the first time I go for it, like I fail. The second time I go for it, I fail. And then third time I do it, maybe I get it. But if I'm using like 80% of my strength and every time I try a move, I'm getting winded, more winded, more winded. I'm gonna get gassed out really quick. Versus if you're strong and you know about jiu-jitsu economy, right? You're efficient with your moves and your techniques, or using the strength that you have to for that particular technique. When you do that using 20%, you can go and attack and use your techniques over and over and over again, and your condition is going to be really good. Even if, like, fitness wise, your condition isn't that great, you're going to be able to roll, you're going to be able to roll longer and not have to take rounds off. So that's how strength training helps your cardio, is because if you actually have good technique and good like grappling economy, with what I'm like to call it, is that you're going to be able to roll for a long period of time. But if you're someone weak, and it's not just, and someone might say, be like, oh, you're just using too much strength if that happens. But if you don't have that much strength, you might not even have a choice. And especially if you're going against people like 20, 50 pounds bigger than you. I'm at a good probably weight. I'm usually weigh 190 to 200. So like I don't ever really have guys who are crazy bigger. So say I roll with someone 250, that's 50 pounds, which isn't really, I don't think is crazy for jiu-jitsu. But if you're someone who's 150 pounds and you're going against like some of my training partners who are 230, 250, that's going, you have to use more strength when you roll with someone bigger. And so you're forced to use those high outputs of strength with those guys. And this is why it's so important to have high levels of strength training through the basic fundamental moves. Because even if I roll with a bigger guy, I'm still using a pretty low percentage of my strength, right? Especially now that I'm a brown belt too. I have pretty good technique. So like again, I'm efficient with that, but then I know I don't have to apply that much strength. And then if we talk about the last thing we're talking about with strength training is, it's just a really good way. There's a lot of benefits from that. So you're going to probably get hurt less if you get strong. Your cardio is going to probably get better as long as you're not like a white belt and going. "Argh." Your performance is going to be better because when you strength train properly, especially if you're smart, you're doing a mixture of bodyweight exercises and compound exercises with weights, barbells, trap bars, that type of thing. Is you're going to be able to learn how to control your own body under stress, under load. And when you do that, a lot of times is moves come quicker to you, right? Like when you learn techniques, because you have it's like a foundation, right? Because you have a foundation of some movement and knowing how to control your body in space, that becomes easier. And this might seem super simple, but especially like I've been a personal trainer for a long time, and you start training someone who's like 45, 50, who hasn't really moved their body in like 20 or 30 years like that. They are very uncoordinated. They don't know how to control their body through space. They're kind of all over the place when they first start. Same thing with like guys doing jiu-jitsu. Like if that's you, you're 45, 50, and this is the only exercise that you do. Learn to strength train, learn how to squat properly again, learn how to do something on one leg, learn how to hip hinge properly, move at the hips, learn how to do like some type of push exercise, some type of pull exercise is going to allow you to control your body more through space. You'll probably catch on with techniques more. And from an injury standpoint too, if you can control your body in space, sometimes you don't get into these like you know how it is jiu-jitsu, sometimes you fall in these like weird awkward positions, your knees get twisted, your shoulders get twisted, your neck gets cranked. When you have more control of your body, that tends not to happen as much. So it's just going to help your overall performance. And I've heard many top of the coaches say this is that the guys who are more young, athletic, learn more. And someone might see that as like, oh, I'm 45 years old. I guess like I can't progress fast in jiu-jitsu. I'm gonna progress super slow. It's like, no, you can build athletics. Sometimes we feel like athletics is something that we're born with, and some people are definitely born with it. I'm a very uncoordinated person. But if you do athletic things, you become more athletic. It's kind of simple. So if you want to become more athletic, if you learn the basic movement patterns that I just prescribed of, get strong over time under control. You do some power things. You do medicine ball throws. You're doing jumps. You're doing skips. Um, you do jujitsu, you're going to improve your athletic ability. It's going to transfer over to jujitsu a lot. And maybe you're not going to be maybe you're not the most athletic dude. We're not all like Michael Jordan or LeBron James, but it doesn't mean we can't build some of that athletic ability, which is going to help us transfer over to jujitsu so that we can learn faster, we can progress faster, we can have better rounds. And I like to say this is because I think this is true, is if jiu-jitsu is a lot of fun, right? But how much fun is it if you're constantly injured, if you're gassing out all the time, if you feel like you're not progressing, like it still might be fun, but maybe it's not as fun as it could be. So by improving your physical ability, it's really important. And like again, the whole point of this, it was not to really shit on yoga, but just say yoga or yoga. Um, but if you only have a certain period of time, strength training is one of those things that you get so much bang for your buck. Um, and I a strength coach I used to be like I follow like a lot. He used to always say that, and it's true. Is strength is the foundation of all physical abilities. If you get stronger, all right, and some of this is to a certain point, right? But if you get stronger, you probably can be more explosive. If you get stronger and like stronger with good movement, you probably move better. You'll probably have better mobility. If you get stronger, it's going to aid your conditioning. If you get stronger with the basic movement patterns, it's probably going to increase your performance because if we look at if you really look at movements, and I've done posts like this on Instagram where I'll show a kill clip of me doing jiu-jitsu and how it looks like a movement you see in the gym. And some people think it's the other way. It's like I gotta create these jiu-jitsu movements in the weight room, but no, you just have to get focus on the basic foundation movements and they transfer over to jiu-jitsu. Like an armbar, it's kind of like a bridge or hip hinge, right? If you're passing someone's guard and you're kind of like driving one knee in, the other leg's back, it's kind of like a lunge. If you do like a takedown, it's kind of like a lunge position. If you think of guard play, it's basically like a squat, right? But you're lying on your back. There's a lot of transfer over just to very basic movements, and that's really how strength training is the biggest bang for your buck. So again, if you only have 2 hours a week, dude, you should be strength training, um, and then just doing jujitsu. And I think for most people, that's going to give you crazy results. And maybe over time, you have some extra time during the week. Maybe you do a mobility session. Maybe you can do some condition. But think with mobility, if, like mobility is something you really want to work on. Um, you can't strength train at home usually, right? Like that takes a while. I have to warm up, but you can do mobility at home. You can wake up early, do some mobility exercises, and just sprinkle it through your day. And you can do it. You get to the jiu-jitsu gym earlier. You wait for the class to start. You can do some mobility stuff. You're watching TV. You can do some mobility stuff. So to like take time to do like a yoga class, I just think there's better things to do. And like I said before, like the biggest issues grapplers have is going to be injury prevention, and strength training is going to outperform yoga a huge amount. And the problem with this, and people will say, no, I strength training, I always get hurt. Well, at times, and this is the thing, jiu-jitsu is a lot of guys do it. A lot of guys think they know what they do in the weight room, and they just don't, to be honest. They just don't. Um, and and the second thing is like I said, strength training is going to help your conditioning. And again, I'm not saying that doing extra conditioning isn't going to help, but um, but we have to understand that strength training, jiu-jitsu is a very strength-based like sport, and strength training carries over to it very nicely. If you guys have any questions on anything, let me know. Um, I'll talk to you guys next week.